Darkrai. The one Pokemon that I wanted more than anything in the world, and I missed the date of the event where he was dropped. As a veteran Pokemon player, I actually didn't know about events with free Pokemon being given out until Victini in Generation 5. To be quite honest, I thought the day that they would cost money, so I blew it off as a gimmick for Game Freak and Nintendo to make money. That Victini would be about $5, along with me having to drag myself out of bed and head to the nearest GameStop for a Pokemon that I didn't even think was worth the drive or money. During the promotion of Victini, I actually needed to head into GameStop to return the terrible abomination known as Final Fantasy XIII, or XIII if you want to be hardcore Final Fantasy nerd about it. When returning said game, I noticed that the store was more lively than usual. So I asked the guy at the counter who was putting the game disc back in a used container, "Why are all the little kids in here today, Geoff?" I didn't know him personally, but he was actually a friend of my cousin's who worked there. He told me about Victini and the promotion that was currently happening. I was shocked and asked, "All these kids are willing to spend hard-earned money on a little furry fire and psychic type?" He responded with the fact that none of the promotions actually cost money. He said the kids would bring in their DS, have the clerk take their DS, and then the kids would eagerly wait for the clerk's return. When it was complete, a brand new Pokemon determined by the promotion was added to your roster of Pokemon. I was not only extremely surprised, but a little angry and sad with myself when I went home and researched all the Pokemon that had a special event distribution. Sure enough, my favorite of all time, Darkrai, had previously been giving out during these events. I almost felt like I lost out on a part of something really cool. It also explained why you can't catch Darkrai in the main storyline of Diamond and Pearl. Scouring the internet for other event Pokemon, I found that shiny legendary dogs, Arceus and Zoroark, all had these events. All I had missed. All I was furious about leaving behind. To me, it was like an ultimate tease not being able to catch them all. So, having a DS, I actually cracked and gave into the Victini craze and picked one up from my black version. When I got back to my place, I made myself a sandwich and decided, since Victini is a low-level Pokemon, why not play through black a little differently? Instead of using the starter Pokemon, I would just use Victini instead. Besides, the combination of fire and psychic was more appealing than other boring fire and fighting starter Pokemon. I would move Victini out of the black that I had it in and move it into my white version for safekeeping while I restarted the game. Just so I didn't lose little guy when creating a new save file on black. When I went to my PC to transfer the little fire mouse, my jaw dropped to see what was in its place. A Darkrai. In all of its pitch black glory, words couldn't escape my mouth as my luck had finally started to come full circle with Pokemon. It was almost like this Darkrai was intended for me. Its nature was lax, and its bad dreams ability, coupled with Dark Void, Nightmares, Psychic, and Thunder, made him unstoppable. Instead of starting up black again, this gave me a whole new range of games that I could use Darkrai in. I could play Battle Revolution and see if we would dominate the round battle arena. I could even transfer him to my Pearl and Diamond games where I wanted to find him in the first place. I was so happy. My girlfriend thought I was going to go insane. She'd say things like, "Do you love that Darkrai more than me?" Jokingly, I would say, "Yes, my Darkrai is my wife, and we'll live in a wooded cottage with our kids and grandchildren." She always punched me in the stomach after that. Not hard, though. Just one of those stop being such a doofus punches. We always laughed at the goofy things we did together. God, I love her so much. Life was actually starting to rock for me. Being younger, I actually had major problems with anxiety and depression. Towards the end of my high school career, I had lost most of my contact with the outside world, keeping only a few friends who I know I could trust close. Things changed when I met Samantha and truly started to feel happy again. We shared all the same interests, hobbies, and even personality-wise. She was my double. It didn't hurt that she was gorgeous and way too beautiful to be with a guy like me. I'm not ugly, but I'm not a hunk either. It was like day and night. I guess what was missing from my life before was compassionate love. Not love that friends or family give, but actual love itself. After about 2 years of going out, I had asked her to move in with me, and she burst with joy at the thought of us becoming our own people in the world. Moving in, sleeping together every night, talking one day about marriage and children. My life for once was perfect. They say depression is an old friend. It's not an inviting or warm friend, but nonetheless I call it a friend because essentially it will always have a grasp on you. My grasp on reality started to slowly deteriorate after I found that my girlfriend was starting to not sleep properly. It started with her waking up with sore arms and legs. I assumed that this was just her not sleeping in a comfortable position at night. Besides, my sleeps were always amazing. I don't know whether it was the mattress or the position of the bed, but I digress. This isn't the only thing that happened. One morning, a very long strand of black hair was found in my bed. This not shocked, but worried both of us, considering I had blonde hair. And my Samantha was a brunette. Considering the situation at hand, Samantha's first reaction, "Are you cheating on me?" I told her that was impossible because at the time I hadn't slept a single night outside my house without Samantha by my side. If that hair was in the bed before I went to sleep, I would have felt it under the covers. She agreed and apologized for accusing me of over-betraying her trust. I told her it was okay and quickly grabbed her for a kiss. Her kisses were the best. My lips fit hers perfectly. I know that sounds weird, but hey, they say love makes you do crazy things, right? Even stranger than the hair was what this hair seemed to be made out of. The hair waved like a strand in the breeze, but when touched, felt somewhat like pudding, jello maybe. In any case, it astounded me, and I actually picked it up to throw it in my car and have it tested at the university in which I currently took up classes at. However, the most odd occurrence that day was when I went to get the hair sample checked out. From the time I had been driving from my place to the school, the hair had mysteriously gone missing in my back seat. I tore up every inch of my car, but to no avail. The hair was gone. Coming home with no answers and a missing object made me furious. I wasn't one to lose things, and I hated it when things became missing for no good apparent reason. Sam knew I was troubled, so she began to rub my back and talk calmly in my ear. She always knew how to relieve my stress. She asked if the lab at the school came up with anything. I told her that I had actually lost it and never knew where I would find one again. She kissed me and said, "You worry too much. Now, come on, you've had a busy and stressful day." She was right. Other than going to the university for that test sample, I also had an exam in biochemistry that very afternoon. To be quite honest, I was worried about my results on the test because my focus was on that stupid hair. Little did I know that stupid hair would change my life forever. The next morning and the following mornings after that were to be my worst ever. I tried to wake her up, but she just lay there motionless. God, Sam, why did you leave me? Why so soon? Why so sudden? Why couldn't I protect you from whatever took you from me? I slept next to you, and for all I know, I could have kicked your corpse in my sleep, and I wouldn't even know it. Oh, God. No. You know what? Why am I praying to God? It's obvious He doesn't care about me. And that's how my depression began again. My rock, my solid, my everything, gone. My spiral began with me leaving the apartment to move in with parents. I can't sleep in that bed, knowing it's where my beloved perished. My parents were nothing but sympathetic towards me, but it was no use. My mind had essentially snapped in two, and there sure isn't any super glue for the brain. Therapists will always say they help with stress. Don't believe them. I've been seeing them all my life, and I can assure you that encouraging words don't rid people of depression. They need to experience happiness again without just being given examples of joyful situations in the therapy session. I became a recluse, only coming out to see family or close friends, although in this time frame, I guess, the only thing positive about it was my love for video games began to blossom again. When Sam was around, we would always play Xbox, but since her death, I haven't touched it. Other game consoles kept my interest, like my PS3, GameCube. Hell, I even still have my Nintendo 64 working, perfect condition. The Nintendo 64 was probably my most played system, to be quite frank. I've had it since I was 4, and it spoke a special nostalgic voice to my childhood. One day when I was playing Pokemon Stadium, when something completely caught me off guard. Darkrai. Yes, to my amazement, he was there. For those who don't know, when starting up Stadium, the intro to the game plays and then a title screen is displayed showing "Press Start," along with every Pokemon from the first generation. There, smack dab in the middle, was that black embodiment of terror. This was, of course, impossible. Darkrai hadn't been added to the Pokemon universe until late in the 4th generation. What was it doing in a game that featured only the original 151? My curiosity began to grow as I was actually able to select Darkrai in the Pokemon team selection screen. He was at the very bottom, as I had expected. During the selection, though, something was even more odd than a Generation 4 Pokemon being in Stadium. Where Darkrai's moves, or moveset, should have been 4 moves replaced with a phrase, "Why did you leave?" At this point, I was really starting to get angry. Had my Stadium become corrupt? What in the hell was going on? Then I thought to myself, ooh, maybe I'm one of those creepypasta victims. I laughed for a while, but the game still perplexed me. Then I remembered, this isn't the first time a Darkrai has appeared to me without explanation. The Victini mix-up was just as odd and unexplainable as Stadium. So without hesitation, I bolted to my Pokemon Black version to see if anything was screwy or out of order. On the surface of my Black On the surface, my black version wasn't even remotely strange. I played it normally and didn't glitch out at all. I was expecting to see a 6th generation Pokemon in my black version. With my life the way it's running, I almost half expected it. It's not like things aren't already weird enough as it is. So with that said and done, I pulled out Pearl to see how my Darkrai was doing. I really wish I hadn't. My Darkrai was always at the head of my team, but when I checked his stats, I nearly threw up. Replacing Darkrai's moveset were the 4 words that spelt out the phrase, "Sleep can be dangerous." The sick freak was trying to toy with my emotions. How in the world did this game know that my most traumatic experience in life happened when I was asleep next to Sam? I began talking to the game, or rather, I screamed at it. "You sick freak! How do you know?" It took a while for me to realize, but the words in Darkrai's moveset began to change again. She was no good. It continued. "I love you more. Come play with me. Dreams set you free. Together we will be suffering in the eternity." I had no idea what any of this meant, but I was certain that this couldn't be considered a Pokemon game anymore. Hell, it couldn't even be considered rational. My situation was one of my own. I probably would have alerted my parents with all the yelling and screaming had they not already left for Cancun for their 2nd honeymoon 3 days earlier. I shouted, "I could never love something so cruel! Do you think you're better than my Sam?" I could feel at this point I wasn't just yelling, but crying as well, remembering her soft face and kisses. Now, I was not only beyond raging, but also losing control of my sanity. It's moments like this that make me realize how much I needed Sam in my life. Stress led me to sleep, with my dreams normally being calm and stable. This night showed me how terrible the human imagination can be. I was placed in a dark London street. No cars, no noise. Just one person. Sam. I didn't know whether to be happy to see her, or to be sad that I knew it was all fake, or to be angry for not being able to say "I love you" one more time to her. Her face was fragile, just how I remembered. I threw my arms around her as quickly as I could and began to sob unbelievably hard. My heartfelt moment soon turned into pure horror. When I hugged Sam, her body felt like that goddamned hair I found in our bed. Opening my eyes, I saw what I was now actually hugging. Replacing Sam was Darkrai himself. She's all mine now. I began to sob even harder. Had my love been killed by this black entity? Why? That's all I could say. Instead of speaking only 4s like he had previously done, he exclaimed, "You ever wonder why so many people die playing Pokemon. I'm that reason. The suicides in Japan. Me. All of this made sense. The kids were probably controlled to commit suicide in their sleep. Their own willpower must not have been enough to stop Darkrai's assault on their minds. It's every event that distributes Pokemon to you foolish humans is another gateway from our realm to yours. You don't even know that every so often Darkrai's like myself are incorporated into every event. But you said you loved me. What kind of love is this? I said while wiping the tears from my eyes. We Darkrai like giving false hope. We aren't meant to be played. We were made to kill. Hello, this is Wilfred French with the 11 o'clock news. Police today are still trying to patch together how a young man aged 24 died in his parents' house late last night. No signs of forced entry were found. The toxicology reports haven't come in yet, but the most peculiar thing in the house was a long black strand of hair next to his bed. Before the police could use it as any evidence, one officer said it vanished.